Hello, I'm Brian Tracy, and welcome to the Brian Tracy Show. We're here today with a remarkable man, a financial manager, head of Beacon Wealth Management, who has extraordinary ideas, concepts, and methods to help people to earn more money and to keep more money. So welcome, John Halterman. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. Now tell us about some of the great things that you're doing.
Well, as you mentioned, I own a wealth management firm in Clarksburg, West Virginia, named Beacon Wealth Management. And what we do is we manage and organize the financial affairs of select families. We put together comprehensive wealth management strategies that basically allow them to achieve financial freedom.
Wow. That is so important today with things changing as rapidly as they are. People can't possibly do this on their own anymore.
Oh, no, definitely not. I mean, it's a major challenge.
So why did you make this your mission or your goal or your choice of occupation in life?
Sure.
What is it you want to accomplish?
Well, you know, I worry about America.
Yes.
Because what I'm worried about is we're having more success in the upper middle class. You know, people are earning great money. But even though we're having success earning money, people don't know what to do with the money once they actually get it.
Right.
And so the struggle for financial freedom is a big, big deal. You know, and I think there's four primary reasons, you know.
Right.
Number one, companies aren't taking care of people anymore.
No.
The days of having a pension are behind us.
Yes.
You know, number two, the media and salespeople. It's confusing. We're a headline society. And so people hear these snippets and they take that as advice, but in reality, it makes it a little bit harder for them.
Yes.
You know, the third thing that I worry about is that people don't have fiscal education.
Yes.
Think about this.
Yeah.
Everything we do is geared towards making us a more productive person and a
Yes.
better employee. But it doesn't teach us what to do with our money once we actually get it.
Right.
So you take all those combinations, you know, and of course, we live in an instant gratification society.
Yes.
Everything's about today, easy credit. So the idea of saving and sacrificing, it's not as normal as it used to be. So when you take those four combinations, even though people are earning great money, they're not achieving that success
Yes.
down the road.
Well, a wise man, at the beginning of my career, said, Brian, you can earn a lot of money in your career, but the only thing that will matter is how much of it you keep.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I say
And
that
that's
all
what
the time.
you teach, yes.
I absolutely do.
And people need to have their eyes open to it. Some people think they're going to make money and live forever, and so they burn it up.
They do.
Yeah.
And they do. And you know, and today, the more money people make, you know, because if a person can make $100,000, you know, in a household, a couple $100,000, they think it's everything, you know. And like you said, they're spending it. They're living for now. And unfortunately, today, there's a good chance we can live 20, 30, or 40 years
Yes.
in retirement.
Oh, yes.
And so what the question is if you quit working, how do you live?
Yeah.
You know, how do you live after that?
Yeah, it's a scary question. And when you ask people that, what would you do if your income stopped forever? How long could you live on your current savings?
Sure.
That'll open your eyes.
And I ask that question every day. and just like you said, people's eyes get real big because,
Yeah.
you know, they think that, you know, I have $500,000, $1 million, and it used to be a millionaire. That was a phenomenal amount of money.
Yes.
But when you're making $100,000, $200,000, that's not a phenomenal amount of money. You can't live the same lifestyle later in life.
Yes. Well, now, there are many people in your field, believe it or not.
Oh, of course there is.
Competing with you.
Yeah.
So what is it that you do that makes you different, unique, special from
Sure.
other people in your field?
Well, you know, I think the first thing is that we're not salespeople. A lot of people in the financial world are selling products, even to this day,
Yes.
which is crazy to me.
Yes.
You know, and I tell people, forget about talking to salespeople. You've got to talk to somebody who has a process, you know, a comprehensive strategy. You know, I think that when you talk about money, you've got to be thinking about 5 things. You know, number one, how's your family? You know, if something were to happen to you, whether it be a death, an illness, whatever, is your family taken care of?
Yes.
Number two, you got to build money. Everybody wants a good life, whether it's for education for their children, retirement, that business opportunity. You got to have a process to build money.
Right.
Third thing is you're going to eventually retire. And you got to make sure that that money lasts 20, 30, 40 years, just like we said. The fourth thing is a legacy. You know, we all get to that point where we've done a great job, we've built a decent amount of money, but how do we pass that legacy on to our heirs, minimizing taxation, minimizing probate. It's a big deal. And of course, the fifth thing is, regardless of what you do, you got to say, how can I minimize taxation?
Yes.
I mean, who wants that in their
I
life?
think that should come first.
Well, sure. But but only reason I don't put it first is all the things that we're talking about there are about the future.
Yes.
Whereas in the first one, if you don't take care of it,
Yes.
you can't change it. You can't make a change after you pass away.
Yes, that's
so,
true.
the lesson to me is, quit thinking about, buying a product here or buying an IRA over here. Think about following a process, following a strategy.
Yes.
That way, you know that regardless of what happens, whether you die, you live, your children are educated, that you feel like you can have that success that you desire.
Yes. Well, can you tell me, we'd love to hear a success story of someone who came to you whose financial situation was mixed up or confused,
Sure.
and you were able to help them, and it made a profound difference later on.
Oh, sure, absolutely. The thing that I see all the time, because I primarily work with business owners, entrepreneurs,
Right.
professional practitioners, and retirees.
Right.
And what I see, like I'll use an example of a highly successful doctor.
Right.
They made $500,000-$600,000 a year.
Right.
And so you would think with that kind of money, they would automatically be successful. But the problem is this doctor worked 4 or 5 different places. So what they have? They had 4 or 5 different 401k plans. They had insurance from a couple different places where they moved. They had IRAs from the bank. They had all these things. I call it the financial junk drawer. It's not an uncommon thing.
Right.
And so people have all this stuff, but they don't know how it works together in harmony.
Right.
And so what I always tell people is, let's take a step back. Let's take a step back and identify why money is important to your family. Let's start with that, And that way we know what the end game is. Then start addressing each gap one at a time in these cornerstones that I was talking about. And then that way, now you have that strategy. Instead of having all these things in this junk drawer, you've cleaned out the junk drawer,
Right.
You've got a strategy in place, and now things are working together to help you achieve that financial success that you desire. And so we see that every day, over and over. Person comes in, makes enormous income, does extremely well, but unorganized, uneducated, and we get them organized, and now all of a sudden they're telling me, hey, for the first time in my life, I have a peace of mind over my money. I feel good about the direction my financial situation is heading.
Wow. When I began studying self-made millionaires, I found that many of them have average jobs. They drive trucks, they work as teachers, crane operators, even a bellman that I knew once. But what they did is they started saving early, and they
absolutely.
saved throughout their entire lives, and then got onto the train of compound interest.
Yep.
And over the course of their working lifetime, they became financially independent. They didn't start off, and they weren't making huge amounts of money. Many
Sure.
people think that.
In West Virginia, it's funny you say that, because we're not blessed with a lot of major corporations.
Right.
But what we are blessed with is good, hardworking people.
Yes.
And you take these average income earners, because people always ask me, what's it take to be a millionaire?
Yes.
And I tell them the same exact story. It's about starting early. These people came out of high school or college, started working and putting away 10, 15% of their income.
Yes.
And they put it in a portfolio and they didn't look back. And next thing you know, 40 years later, they have all this money. And
They're wealthy.
and they're wealthy, absolutely. And I call it the middle class millionaire. It's the story of the average person
Yes.
who just made smart decisions and got started early and made sacrifices. And I love it because you drive around
Yes.
and you look at these people, and they don't live in the mansions. They don't drive the $100,000 cars. But what they do have is they have the certainty of knowing that they're taken care of because they made smart decisions early. So you're absolutely right on that.
That's wonderful. Well, how can people get a hold of you to take advantage of your services?
Sure. Our phone number
Yes.
is 1-800-623-3900.
Yes.
Our website is www.bwmwv.com. And my email address is jhalterman, which is HALTERMAN, @bwmwv.com.
Thank you very much.
Hey,
John.
thank you,
That
Brian.
was
It's a pleasure.
absolutely
Pleasure.
great.
Thank you.